Hello, am I audible?
Yes. We are going live, sir, in just 1 minute. 1 second. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the special episode on GST by ETCFO.com, which is an initiative or the news vertical dedicatedly covering CFO community and the CFO by the Economic Times. At ETCFO, we keep on doing curating. We keep on doing different shows. We believe in curating news and content in different formats. We conduct a live show every month on different topics, and this particular topic is about GST. As we understand, one nation, one tax was the logo or was the theme when GST was launched 8 years back, and today we are on the threshold where GST 2.0 could be there very soon, and that's why we thought that this is a burning topic, and we should ask India Inc. what do they expect specifically from GST 2.0. So, friends, let me welcome and introduce my speakers first for this particular discussion. My first speaker is Mr. Deepal Shah, the ex-Group CF of All Cargo Group. Deepal, glad to have you. My
Thank you.
next
Thank you
speaker,
for having me. Yeah.
thank you. My next speaker is Mr. Ranjit Kumar Agrawal, the former president of ICAI. Ranjit ji, glad to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My next speaker is Mr. Dev Tripathi, joining us from Gurgaon, who's the CFO of Philips India. Dev, glad to have you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and glad to have be here in this group.
Sure. And my next speaker is Mr. Pratik Gupta, joining us from Bangalore. He's the VP Finance and Head Director and Indirect Taxes, Manipal Hospital. Pratik ji, glad to have you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and pleasure to be part of this. Thank you.
Sure. We will also have another panelist, Ankush Jain, joining us very shortly, maybe some network issue. He's the CFO of Dabur India Limited. But gentlemen, glad to have you on this particular panel discussion. And as we remember, on 1st July, the government launched 8 years back, one nation, one tax, which was GST. But over the 8 years, obviously, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi was said, that it was one of the landmark decision. It was one of the landmark reform in the by the government or in the history of India's economy. And GST has made life easy for India Inc. in last 8 years, no doubt about it. Whether ease of doing business, compliance, a lot of things have changed. But now we are at a threshold where we want more. And the question is, how can we do it far more rationally? How can GST Council look at our suggestions? So in July, when we completed 8 years, there are thoughts that the GST Council's next meeting, which is scheduled in this month itself, might look at GST 2.0 version, for which even Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also given a green signal. So with this background, let me open my show to all of you, and I would also urge my viewers, readers to share their questions if they have any. So let me come to you first, Mr. Tripathi, Dev, and this is a common question to all of you, but I will start with you, Dev. What do you expect in GST 2.0 from the GST Council or the government as a whole?
I think all of us must be having some wishes, Amol, and coming from the medical industry. If you'll ask me, we need to. I urge the government to look into the problem statement the industry is going through. The biggest challenge for our country is accessible, quality healthcare, and it has to be affordable. So currently, if you'll see, our medical services are exempt from taxes, GST, whereas the equipments where we deal with or the devices where we deal with, there is a 4-tier tax structure. That is the 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. There is a lot of discussions around that. Okay, we may get into the 3-tier, 12% may be taken out and will be split into 5% and part into 18%. Considering that, okay, the cost of healthcare is one of the biggest problem statement for the larger part of the society. What I will urge that we need to see that how we keep the healthcare cost under check, and we need to carefully see that if we can make we can bring it to the 5% tax bracket,
Hello.
so that at least we can address the problem statement of the industry and the people of the country.
Okay. I think that was a
Hello.
good thought to begin with. Ankushji, yes, I think we can hear you. Please switch on your camera and we'll see you as well, and then we'll come back to you, Ankushji. Thanks for joining. So I think Dave, valid points. Let me maintain the continuity, and since you spoke about medical, let me move to the money part. Pratikji, your expectations, please, from GST 2.0.
Right. So just continuing what Dave said, right? Yes, we also want to have a very,
Okay, I'm switching on. Don't worry.
I should say,
Okay.
cost control on the healthcare part. But
Yeah, done it. Done it.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
yeah. So, but the only thing is, like everyone
Hello,
knows,
am I
healthcare-
audible?
Ankush sir, you're audible. You're just not visible. Just switch on your camera and keep yourself on mute, and we'll come back to you. Good to see you, Ankush ji. Yes. Pratik ji,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just saying, yes, as we already know, healthcare is an exempt sector right now, right? And the only thing here is whatever the services we get as a healthcare is all attract GST. So our wish is also that we can pass on all those things, but the only thing here is anything which comes to us has a GST as a cost, and it makes healthcare a costlier thing. So we also wish to do the same, right? And the only thing is if you are not making us as a taxable activity, at least the services or goods provided to us can be exempt so that we can nullify the cost. Or like what they've said, if he has to take a
Amol, can you
like
confirm if am I audible or not?
Yes, sir. You're absolutely audible. I will come back to you as soon as I'm done with other panelists also in the flow of the questions. You just unmute yourself for now, but you are audible and you are visible now, sir. Yes, Pratik, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the only thing was like what Mr. Dev said. So we also want either there is an exemption removed from our side, or all our services or costs become exempt so that the cost becomes nullifying on the GST. So that is what we are looking for from 2.0. Other than the compliance, we are trying to have a reduction in the compliance factors, which can be another ask from our side. Being an exempt sector, still you have to do all the compliances which anyone else has to do. So that is our expectation from GST 2.0.
I think that was good to make a continuation specifically with the medical or the hospitalization part, which is far more crucial as health becomes an integral part for us. So thanks for adding that. In fact, Dev and Pratik. Ranjit ji, let me come to you. I mean, you heard specifically from one industry, but I'm sure there are a lot of industries you kind of representing, and you must be talking to a lot of them in your earlier role also. So, what are the major pain points that you have seen, and what do you expect now government to do specifically with 2.0?
Thank you very much. You see, GST is the one of the biggest physical reform happened in last 1 decade in India. And you have seen the current year GST collection is 22.08 lakh crore, which is
Yes.
2.6 times higher than the pre-GST regime. If you calculate the financial year 16-17 pre-GST regime, it's a 2.6 times higher. And I was
Right.
going to the developed country GST collection, they have VAT. So OECD data says 2022, the VAT, average VAT of this OECD country 7% of GDP. And today we have 6.16% of GDP as a GST collection. So GST has done a phenomenal job as far as India as a growing economy is concerned. But at the same time, we must not forget that India financial literacy is only 27%. Now, MSME are right now the government has revised the MSME definition. 500 crore and less turnover based industry are MSME. So the people want to pay tax because of digitalization. People are paying tax. Of course, some elements are there where you have to regulate, but the basic fundamental definition of GST is regulation and development of the business. Now, if you want to regulate and you don't want to develop, so that's why in this GST, the new law, the new 2.0, which you are talking about, what the government should do. In my opinion, I am giving you two small example. There is a case of yeso industry. To make a
Hmm.
appeal by the yeso industry, they have to deposit 10% of the fees, and they have the credit ledger balance was there. So the department is not permitted. They went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court permitted. Of course, you can adjust the 10% pre-deposit fees with the ledger. So this is the small thing. The matter has went to Supreme Court.
Right.
Why? So the department has to also see how to regulate and how to develop both way. In my opinion, instead of inspect and penalize, we should trust and verify. How we can trust the citizen of this country and then verify. It's one of the finest legislation happen in this country, barring few fake invoice and some few manipulation which will be always be there in any developed or developing country. But this is the
Right.
finest legislation. You have to trust the citizen and you have to make the ease of doing business more user friendly. That is my expectation from this GST 2.0.
Hmm. Uh, Noted your points, Ranjit ji. I think very relevant and very realistic point. In fact, once to and second, even if something happens, at least now department should take a note of it and translate the similar thing to the other cases so that those people should not, raise the same queries. Very very valid points, Ranjit ji. Deepan, let me come to you and take your opinion first now, specifically on the 2.0.
Thank you, Amol. I think I quite echo the sentiments of the previous speakers, and especially Mr. Ranjit. I think he elaborated very well. I think it's one of the finest pieces of legislation, no doubt about it. But of course, all legislations go through evolution, and it's also evolving as being implemented. Uh, I think couple of areas for 2.0 which are very relevant for them to look into. One would be slab rationalization. I think we have 5 slabs, and we haven't seen globally so many slabs. So understand the whole population, the way we've been split, and the kind of the commodities that they are there. I think may require a higher number of slabs than the western countries, but I think 5 slabs are quite a bit. I think that's rationalization is something which is very important to do. Second, I think the original plan of GST that government had planned for was a complete centralized tax, and then of course there was a give and take between the state and the central, where they had to then finally to the states as well before it getting enacted. What we would love to see is either better coordination between the central and the state,
Hmm.
especially for audits and many other things. And also, what we would like to see is if more and more things can be centralized. Because what is happening is we are seeing multiple interventions, at both state and central level for many things. Also, there are multiple returns. For example, if I were to give you another area for improvement is the registration, I think. And like Mr. Ranjit said, that for ease of doing business, there have been some spurious elements, and some people who have been doing whatever that they are doing in terms of issuing fake
Yeah.
invoices, etc., or claiming undue IDC credits and running away. But that does not, penalize, shouldn't penalize rest of the compliant majority of the businesses. The whole registration process today, I know those who practically managing it, is become very cumbersome. To
Hmm.
get a registration for a GST, and I'll tell you why it's very important for logistics companies, because we run a lot of warehouses, and the demand of the warehouses in terms of locations and the spread is rising systematically, uh, leading to multiple registrations, and both the complexity of the getting the registration, at the same time the complexity of filing multiple state-wise and returns, are areas where I think, from ease of doing business and even looking at the whole overall competitive landscape then that India wants to in future be, is some areas where they should, I think, simplify. So apart from this, there are many other things, but I think these are key areas where 2.0 can fundamentally change the game. Uh, and I'm sure, I think they are recognizing this as well. I'll pause here.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Deepak. Deepal, in fact, meaningful thoughts there. I have been talking to number of CFOs since I had AT CFO, and everyone talks about the same thing. In fact, why there are multiple registrations required. Even online e-commerce companies, QSR companies operating in different cities, and they need a different registration from different states, which is unable to understand. I hope the government looks at it in GST 2.0. Ankush, can you see us? Can you hear us? Are you there? Hello, Ankush. Can you see us? Can you hear us? I think there is some issue, maybe technical issue with Ankush's network. My team is at back end. Well, check with him. Let me move on, and shoot my next question. So, Dave, you highlighted, two three important points that the industry is facing. But when you talk specifically about the compliance, the ease of doing business, because you also deal with so many people specifically, and you're a global company, right? What are the major pain points that you see? What are the major challenges that you see now for you, specifically your business? Because when one nation, one tax came, everyone was so happy that now all those challenges which had with indirect taxes will go away. But what has happened is, we built new city, but new city has new challenges and new problems now.
Right. Uh, so, so Amol, I think we all have similar points. What I was hearing to the co-panelist, and um, so if you'll ask me, yes, whether we could have avoided such challenges, certainly no, because it is certainly a progressive tax reform. All of us, I agree. We have gone through now a journey. We have our experiences, we have our track records now, and there is a good amount of sample size also available with the government now, and it needs a reform. The ask from the government or the economy is to grow faster and be competitive across the world, across many countries. So we need to really address the inefficiencies in the system. Inefficiencies is the only thing which really, if you can get rid of, we will be competing very strongly against many other economies. And forget about the fourth, third, we may compete with the top two very soon. And on this point, if you'll ask me, the one thing which I think Priyal also, I think everybody has highlighted, that the compliance, one of the things, major hurdle today in GST. So if you'll see, each registration, you have to file 26 returns in a year. There are multiple monthly returns, then there are multiple annual returns also. And now you imagine that, okay, most of us actually operate in multiple states and multiple registrations. Now you can imagine that how many multiples of returns which you need to file. That is one. And it doesn't stop there. When it comes to further, where you need to really reconcile your input tax credits. Um,
Hmm.
and then again, further is that, okay, your e-way bill which you generate for movement of the goods. So all these things, inefficiencies, which you need to really see how we get rid of and make it more efficient. I think it was well highlighted that we need to move to a developed side, a trust side, and what we need to see is that how we can consolidate the reports and the returns as we move on, so that the ease of business can be really really lived. At the same time, what all we can do is that yes, there are challenges with few set of people, taxpayers, but there is a majority of the business or the industry who have shown their keenness to follow and comply with the norms. So if we
Yeah.
can introduce something like a green channel facility, okay, which can really fast track and
Yeah.
reduce the burden, At the same time, also we can introduce something like a rating system, Amol,
Mm.
where at a real time basis we can see that the vendors filing the GST credits. So as a result, what will happen that we are actually, rather than moving focusing on a regulation, we are moving to a develop side where a every vendor ecosystem will move to more towards a compliance ecosystem. There will be people like us who are getting services will prefer more service providers who are more compliant and better in rating. So these things will certainly help us move few notches above, when it comes to ease of doing business.
Right. I think you have raised very valid points, and you, in fact, the whole point of moving to a developed economy, how can we be more competitive with all these things, are very relevant one day. Thanks for adding that. But one thing which I absolutely see now after listening to you and many other CFOs is we have moved from multiple indirect taxes to multiple registration. I hope that problem solves. Ankush ji, glad to have you. Can you see us? Can you hear us? I think you're.
I was
I
on
can see
mute.
you, but I can't
Uh-huh.
hear you. Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So apologies, it didn't work on my laptop, so I've logged in from my
No worries.
phone.
Thank you so much.
Apologies
I
for
think the
getting
god
late.
of no
Uh,
worries. I think the god of
yeah,
network
I
is
think I
at
missed
least
very
in
important
favor now.
discussion. Yeah.
No, sure. So let me bring you into the conversation, and let me shoot my first question, which I asked all the panelists to you as well. What do you expect from GST 2.0? Because we are expecting there will be a revamp of GST. So what are the highlights that you would like to see in GST 2.0?
Yeah. No, definitely, in fact, we are hearing a lot of media from media reports that in GST 2.0, government is contemplating first at least, merging the rates to a three-tier system, 5, 18 and 28. But however, my suggestion or our, guidance probably would be why not make it 5, 12 and 28? And I'll tell some of the logics for this. Because let's say for example in our products, toothpaste or cosmetic hair oils, shampoo, soaps, all of these are daily need items. So they are no longer a luxury, and 1.5 billion people actually consume them. So why do you make consider them as almost a luxury and charge it at 18%? And this is also very important because at this point of time, the FMCG demand is really under pressure, and especially the urban, because the cost of living has gone up in last couple of years. So I think this would be our first humble request to the Honorable Finance Minister and the GST Committee. First is this, to have a simplified tax structure, moving most of the items which are non-luxury to 12 to boost consumption. Point number one.
Yeah.
Point number two, I think what we also would request is, or what we expect is that today, it's becoming slightly cumbersome because you have to file, let's say, if you have 25 states registration, you have to file almost 50 to 60 registrations a month, and then annual and then quarterly reconciliations. When this concept of GST is one tax, one nation, one tax, why can't we have one, return per month,
Registration.
like
Yes.
an income tax return? So that would be another. And third, I think I overheard because I joined in the middle, Mr. Dev, saying that the business partner uh, when vendors, or the business partners, they don't deposit their tax, then we as a purchasers or bona fide purchasers are penalized. So this is really onerous. So I think this should be looked on, and only people who have malified intention and have not deposited tax, they are a separate legal entity. They are a separate entity, businesses without our control. So government should penalize them, and not the bona fide purchasers. So I think these couple of points from my side. Yeah, while I can talk, but I think I leave it to later point of time.
No,
Yeah.
no, certainly. We copied you. We heard you. Those were really remarkable points, and I will come back to you maybe with one or two more questions. So let me move ahead with Ranjit ji. I heard you sometime back. You shared couple of relevant points. I think everybody is very happy at economic level because GST is contributing maybe an average 1,85,000 crores per month. That's the collection that we have seen. In fact, we had seen more than 200,000 crores as well. But one point that is missing is, while all this collection is happening, all this whatever compliance is of doing business is happening, if a person, if a company has a issue with the GST department, there is no tribunal. Now there is a provision which they are trying to make, but do you think it's too late? And we should have a provision earlier to have this issue solved, because people don't know where to go and resolve the issues which they have. I'm sure, being a ICI body, people must have come to you and spoken to you and highlighted these points.
Thank you very much for raising this important issue, because we have suggested this issue various time, multiple times. A law, physical law of 8 years old, not having any tribunal, is a very unfortunate part. And if you have to go for everything after the department to High Court and Supreme Court, and the kind of middle class SSC we have, it's a very, very cumbersome. So now uh, they have planned to have a this tribunal, but not notified. So we are waiting for the notification how this tribunal will work. But at the same time, uh, i- in addition to the tribunal, in our opinion, this GST law needs a specialized, I will not say GST monitoring wing, but GST mediation wing. Now it's a ADR is coming. So why not we have a GST mediation wing, which will not only issue the small issue, which will escalate to the higher level, that will be prohibited. Early detection of the potential disputes that can be detected. Clear guidance of the mediation can be defined, and it will be a bridge between the taxpayer, GSTN, and the ministry while framing the policy. If some issues are coming which are removed by this GST mediation wing, and then they will go to the litigation or policy making. So tribunal not having is a cumbersome, and people are facing it. But now very soon we can see the tribunal, and these kind of suggestion which we are giving can also be considered by the GSTN Council.
Right. I think that is meaningful one, Ranjitji. Pratik, let me come to you. And you are heading direct, indirect, vertical both, and being a finance head of this company called Manipal. Tell me, where do you spend most of your time when it comes to GST? You already highlighted the major pain points that you saw, and
Right.
expectations also you raised. But let us understand, because why your sector is important. It's not because of the social security and health, but also, for example, you are not perhaps looking at GST very aggressively because of there are exemptions, but you deal with insurance companies and they are paying 18% tax. Your vendors are paying GST. So where do uh, spend or waste a lot of time when it comes to taxation, and how do you handle it?
Right. So I'll just give you some scenarios, right? So everyone has a mindset that healthcare being an exempt will not have multiple GST activities, but whether it's an exempt service or not, the functionality from GST is same. We also have to file the same returns which anyone else is doing, right? The compliance for us is much more as compared to anyone else, because I have to prove my exemptions through Rule 42 every time when we go for an audit. So one is there's a sector which is an exempt sector, services still remains the same. And so when you ask about what is the main time spending, so definitely on the compliances which is there, because these are hardcore compliances which has to be done. Second is definitely when department is putting pressure on us as a correct taxpayer for their vendor reconciliations or vendor mismatch. Again, as a company, you have to furnish all those documents, everything to the department. So one is about doing up the compliances. Second is what also happens in our cases, being an exempt services, there's a lot of cost which gets involved for us because of GST. So like you said, insurance company, like so insurance company, whenever you go for a insurance, right, there's a GST involved in that. That becomes a cost
Yeah.
for you. And whenever a patient comes to us, then he has the mindset that he has already paid up the GST, and then he comes to us that why he's not able to get the benefit of the GST. Because now the only thing here what we currently have is all this GST cost gets added to us, and which even sometimes make healthcare have to absorb those costs for this. Even the service providers which are there, anything, any cost, any service, any goods which I take attracts GST. So when you talk about our thing, where most of our time goes is definitely it is on controlling of the cost. But
Hmm.
healthcare, surprisingly, is not a very priority sector into the country right now. We got that
Hmm.
exception only during COVID, or there were certain SEIS schemes which was there. But currently, whether it is exempt, non-exempt, the amount of effort and time which is required from us is similar to any other company which is doing now.
Hmm. It's like even if you're not earning, it's okay. You still have to file zero returns.
Yes. In our case, we have to file all those exempt returns, and we have to distinguish between taxable and non-taxable services, which becomes more cumbersome sometimes.
Yeah,
And
noted your
can
points.
I come in for one
Yes.
like,
Sure.
this registration and all these issues are very cumbersome. Everybody is speaking. Why department needs the nil return to be filed? There
Yes.
can be a dashboard where you can say, yes, my reel is written, no need to file anything. You can disclose
Yes.
and you can disclaim, you can give a disclaimer. So
Yes.
nil return to file can be reduced by this click of the button.
Yes. No, ultimately, yes, I think that's a very strong point that you said, Ranjit ji. Uh, Deepal, you mentioned about the centralized GST registration number should be there. So how do you think it will make a big difference in CFOs and the logistic industry's life? Do you think that the time that you waste, the money that you spend will be reduced and perhaps efficiency will be increased? How? Can you just elaborate more on
Huge.
that?
Yeah, thanks, Amol. It's a huge administrative time save and time and money and effort saving.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. For any company which is a well established company, which is particularly a listed company, let's take an example of a listed company which is well
Hmm.
established, and that particular company has been paying GST since inception of GST, and
Hmm.
it's been regular payer. Now if they want to
Hmm.
open a fresh warehouse,
Hmm.
somewhere in any other state where they don't have, you have to go through everything as if you're starting business there. It's almost, from zero. You have to have all the documents and everything else. I have been noticing the registration taking a very, very long time. So from the GST side, I think they're not wrong. What has happened is a lot of people have taken, and they also have their own challenges. A lot of
Hmm.
people have taken rental places, issued invoices, not paid tax, taken import credit, and have vanished. So they have their own set of problems, which we agree, which we do not deny. uh, but I think, like somebody said, there has to be some grading, there has to be some understanding. You issue a centralized pan based registration, and that company will kind of honor whatever is there at the new registration or the new state place. You cannot deny or cannot expect that for each state the company will starts its operation, starts from zero. So I think, see, conceptually my understanding was like this, and there are other panelists who are, it was more about revenue sharing between the state and the center. Why to just why this was, it's more about the money, who will collect the taxes, and how it will be distributed rather. I think it will be more complicated to even to keep it central. But now what they've done is that they have decentralized the administrative stuff also. So basically my point is that, okay, we understand the revenue has to be shared. Okay,
Right.
so you centralize the compliances, you centralize the registrations, and then you split the revenues. Because, and of course both state also needs to ensure that what is rightfully due to them they can get. You can have powers to do joint audits, rather than
Hmm.
having independent audits. So what I'm saying is that there has to be some thought process where uh, it's not cumbersome for the company, and at the same time the the government, or the treasury of the government is protected of any misuse.
Hmm.
current Currently I think, just imagine, I mean, if I'm going to take 1 or 2 months to delay opening a warehouse, uh, that revenue is lost for me, and that GST on that is also lost to the government in that sense.
Right.
So
Right.
somewhere, there's a whole ease of doing business, which the government has been trying to do. And all these things, in future, when we start getting more competitive, once probably we come out of the whole tariff scenario, we'll have more factories and many other things here. I think if this is not reformed, it will be again we go back to the whole red tapeism situation that we had several years back, and that's what should be avoided in my view. So there's several examples,
Great.
and I don't blame the government at all for this, because they have also have had challenges in terms of people registering, misusing the registration and going away. So it's a very catch 22 situation. But I think there has to be a long term solution for at least a certain level of companies, which you for which you can
Yeah.
offer centralized registration or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yes, certainly. But I while we agree that there could be number of registrations, I mean, more than almost 2 lakh crores of collection every month is not easy. But the whole idea is we are living in a digital world. We should have a robust digital infrastructure which could perhaps solve all these problems. We are talking about startup India. We're talking about AI and everything. So I'm sure a lot of things can be resolved there. Ankushji, let me shoot one more important question to you. FMCG has been a driver when it comes to the consumption economy, and we have new emerging sectors like QSR industry or e-com industry, but which has a backbone of the FMCG. You must be dealing with maybe 100,000 vendors, distributors, and this QSR and e-com industry. Does that what I mean? Does GST give you give you a sleepless nights actually? When it comes to compliance and everything.
No, I think yes, while it is a game changer initiative, as I earlier said, and it has got a lot of digitization. It is unbelievable. Maybe last 8 years, it is unbelievable that the government has got everything digitized. All invoices of each company, the seller, the purchaser, the quick com, our suppliers, thousands, distributors, thousands of them. Everything is digitized and available on the platform at a click of a button. So this is really commendable. However, now having said that, having reached certain stage, we obviously the government can simplify it by making centralized registrations, centralized filing of returns, so that it is very compliant. Not only compliant, but it is also very easy for the companies to navigate these challenges. Otherwise, most of our work of our tax teams is going into operational work, and it is leading to some sort of a business hindrance also at certain point, when you are not able to open a registration or not able to file a return on time. So I think one nation, one tax, unless that philosophy of a centralized mechanism comes in uh, across the value chain, which is seamless, and government has everything, and everything available. So why do we want lakhs and lakhs of companies to again file everything on a monthly basis? Something can be quarterly, something can be yearly. Surprise checks can be there. First point. Second point, I think, as an FMCG industry also, our products get sold in multiple states, let's say almost everywhere. So today, any authority from any state, even if that product is very insignificant in that state, will pick up that and create an investigation. Our suggestion would be, why can't it be placed into one authority, which is either a centralized one, or where your registration is, your prime registration is, so that dealing with the authorities also become very, I think, less time consuming. You can have face to face. Otherwise, somebody, let's say we are in NCR, and a notice will come from small city in Tamil Nadu, correct? And then for a product which is sold across the country, and it's a classification dispute, why can't it be routed through the centralized agency sitting in NCR? So let's make, I think that's also something which should be looked at. There are multiple other examples, but I think, will at a later stage, for a later stage. Yeah.
No, but I think these are the important case studies, and thanks for sharing all these relevant points. So Ranjit ji, is there, after listening to this? In fact, there was one question also on the similar lines. Ranjit ji, are there disputes between central and state in GST? Is there any way that we can resolve them?
Your voice is gone. Can you repeat?
Ranjit ji, can you hear me?
Now, yes, now we can
Better.
hear you.
Better.
Hello, I think there is some network issue. Maybe Ranjit ji,
I
can you
think
hear
I
me?
think now we can hear you, but you can repeat the question because we could not hear your question.
Sure. No worries. I guess I think the network of is a big issue today. So Ranjit ji, I wanted to say that you heard Ankush sir talking different aspects about the whole compliance and how centralized registry can help them. Similarly, I wanted to understand. This was one question also from some reader, the audience. That is there a issue of interpretation between what central and state has with the people at large when it comes to GST.
No, as far as interpretation of GST or this HSN code and other rates and all these things are concerned, there cannot be a true opinion by center and states. So it is driven
Yes.
by the center only. States cannot interpret.
Hmm.
So it's a law. The law is very clear that way. Of course, interpretational issue is there. The rates, the HSN code and the rates and all these classification and the interpretation issues are cropping up from time to time. The courts, people are going for courts also, but at the same time, this state and this central level, uh,
Right.
it is not that to that level we have to redefine the whole law.
Hmm.
It is
Right.
not to
Yeah,
that
but I
level.
think maybe sorry, if I can just
Sure.
add one point on this, if sir you are
Okay.
completed, if you're done.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think, however, one point, while there may not be an interpretation issue between center and a state, it is
Huh.
yet to be seen.
Huh.
However, sometimes in the current regime, the
Hmm.
authorities are not accepting the verdict of the old regime, which is either excise duty or sales tax.
Hmm.
Suppose there is a settled matter in
Hmm.
the earlier regime, there is a probability, or there have been instances where under the GST law, even if the product is exactly same HSN code, they can still raise it. So
Hmm.
maybe government can have some notification that if the case is settled on a classification in the earlier regime, then it should be treated the same way. A little submission. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah,
Ankuji, in this
Okay.
matter, just would like to highlight,
sure.
like income tax. Recently, the bill was passed. The citation of the decision of the Supreme Court has been now enabled in the new act, so that
Right.
if the Supreme Court has decided some cases, based
Huh.
on that, the decision will be taken by the department. So to
Yes.
reduce the litigation, they have started giving the citation of the Supreme Court cases.
Correct.
Same thing is coming in GST also, as
Should
far as
come.
I have heard to that extent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that.
Sure. Sure. Deepalji, let me come to you. I also wanted somebody from the MSME side, but nonetheless, I want your perspective specifically on the SMEs and the MSME side. I mean, the government has been talking a lot about pushing the small businesses, but when we speak to the majority of them are also showing their resistance and concerns over GST. In I'm sure you must be talking to them, you must have some rapport with them. In your view, what will actually boost them? Because what happens is as soon as they start the business, they have to get into the GST picture and then fall the ease of doing business and the compliance issues, right? Anything that you want to add on that side, Deepal?
Yeah, no, thanks, Amol. No, so one, I think GST has done a wonderful job in terms of formalizing moving towards the
Yes.
formalization of the economy.
Yes.
Whilst we also need to understand that there's a large portion of the Indian economy which is informal, continues to be informal.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
typically, startups and smaller vendors typically, are informal, or at least not, like Mr. Ranjit said, not as much educated in early
Yes.
days. Many of them, or not doing about the compliances. So for them, also many of them are not digitally savvy.
Yes.
So with that, what is happening is, of course, the threshold, I think is, I think 20 lakhs and 40 lakhs, I think the threshold, but uh, that's a very small
Yes.
amount these days. So one, I think for very small businesses, for them to enable themselves to be digitally compliant,
Hmm.
and filing all these returns will be very cumbersome, and the cost of compliances will be very high for them.
Hmm.
So I think from a slab perspective, some I think more leeway needs to be given there, because I think that is very very important. For example, a trader hardly earns 5%, 5 to 8%. 40 lakhs, 5% is far below an amount for anybody to even tax. So that is one area. Second, I think you know. On the ITC, and I'm coming back to this whole cycle of ITC. Everybody needs to become, see, the world has become extremely competitive, and margins are shrinking heavily. Now with this whole ITC, when a smaller MSME wants to start selling to a large company, that's how they will grow. A lot of large companies, because they don't get credit, for the GST if it's not paid, they delay the payments till the GST amount is paid to the smaller vendor. So basically, that typically balloons up the working capital for the smaller guys, and it becomes highly detrimental for their growth. So I, you know, the ITC credit,
Hmm.
uh, to be denied to a compliant purchaser, I think is a something which is very detrimental to smaller companies as well, because larger companies will burn their fingers once, but then they will obviously start pushing back. Either they will stop dealing with MSMEs, or they
Right.
will probably put rules for MSMEs which kind of balloon up their working capital or make them less competitive. So
Right.
I think for the ecosystem, India primarily is an entrepreneurial ecosystem,
Hmm.
and to kind of make the best out of it, I think the government needs to look at a holistic approach to some of these problems. The whole registration, the IT setup, how enable them, how to give them more freeway. Maybe those are areas, I think. Of course, we don't have all the solutions today, but I think a lot of thought process needs to be put around some of these areas. That would what my view would be. Lastly, I shouldn't be saying this, but I've been seeing on some forums and some newspapers and many other places that there has been a bit of a little bit harsh treatment to the smaller MSMEs from from the GST side authorities. So
Yes.
we've been hearing that time and again, and that is exactly why there's been a lot of pushback and protest. So I mean, they could be non-compliant, they must be doing things what they shouldn't be doing. I have no denial on that, but that leaves a little bit of more probably like Mr. Ranjit said, that there has to be trust, and this whole trust deficit scenario is not a healthy scenario for nation building and for building businesses within the nation, especially the startup ecosystem. That's what my view would be. Yeah, thank you.
So,
So that
so
was
Amol, if I
detailed,
can,
but yeah, yeah,
so
sure,
Amol, if I
sure.
can add something, no, to
Yes.
what Deepal said, I think the general framework, or the general guardrail for all the businesses, that none of the customers wants to pay for the inefficiency from the seller side.
Hmm.
Okay. So when all of us are saying, the one thing very common is that the industry or the market is extremely competitive, when within the domestic limits, as well as when you compete outside India. So the general ask from the government, and we all appreciate the good things they are doing, the good work they are doing, and they're really doing the heavy lifting, is that to bring down the compliance, whether it is MSME or the large corps. the common point is the cost of compliance is huge, whether it is taking a input tax credit, whether it is normal assessments, or it is simple return filing. So all these places there is a huge scope of simplification that will help to reduce the inefficiencies in terms of cost of compliance, and that will certainly help across the industry.
Right. In fact, one of the CFOs said something very nice to me. He said it's not even about compliance, it's about the clarity over the compliance. Sometimes we half the time struggle with the clarity itself, with what kind of compliance is needed. So valid points. Let me shoot my one last question to all of you. Again, all of you shared meaningful, relevant thoughts on what should government do in 2.0. But I specifically think, because I do speak to a lot of startups also, and like Deepak sometime back said about 20 lakh and 40 lakh, I think 20 lakh should not be the limit. 20 lakh is nothing but you are earning 1,60,000 rupees per month. As soon as you work as a consultant and earn that much money, you fall under GST. And then he also get into that whole compliance tunnel, which is, I think, not very fair for sure, and the government should look at it if we are marching towards a developed economy. But the question now broadly is this, that we are already a fourth largest economy. A lot has been done digitally. A one nation, one tax is here, and we're trying to review it. What will actually make us reach to maybe third or second, or maybe even ahead of that, a largest economy? And what will be those, 2 3 points that the government should not miss when it comes to compliance, ease of doing business, taxation? Anything that you want to say, maybe even for the sake of repeating goals or emphasizing, if you want to add that, please go ahead. Ranjit ji, I will
Ah,
start with you.
okay.
Oh,
So, yeah, somebody speaking.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Rajit. I had a
it's okay.
statement to
It's
make,
okay.
but
Please.
it's okay. I'll do it later.
Yes.
So you want that? What should be the roadmap, road ahead for
Yes.
this India to be the fourth largest, very soon going to be the third largest economy? And
Yes.
we have seen how India is growing, how digitalization has taken effect at ground level. Prime Minister used to say many forum that every second digital transaction across the globe is happening in India today. So that is the strength the Indian people have shown and reposed trust in the government functioning, and that's why they are paying tax. In my opinion, uh, Indians, not a single citizens don't want to pay the tax. Every citizen is honest in our country. The problem is that if they don't see their money is not invested properly by the politician or the bureaucrat, then they also want to avoid paying tax. So if they say the money is going in the right hand, the right investment infrastructure, the ease of doing business, the facilities are coming, so they don't mind paying tax. And that's why the result you can see in the income tax collection and in the GST collection. I'm giving you one small example. The middle class and the lower middle class and the MSME are paying more tax than they used to pay earlier. If you say the income tax, 10 years before, this is the government data in the budget paper. 10 years before, the direct tax collection was 62% from corporate and 38% from non corporate. After 10 years, in 2024 or 23, the corporate collection has gone to 50% and the non-corporate has gone to 50% equally. That means the corporate tax has came down and the non-corporate went up. So that means the middle class, the lower middle class has paid more tax. They want to pay the tax and they can see the result. That's what they're paying. So if the government has to go for the developed country, a third largest economy, we have 27% financial literacy in our country. We have per capita income of 2,500 or $600 per person. If you want to be developed, it has to go to five times, $15,000 per person has to be. If you want to develop, this 27% has to go 87% as a financial literacy. So on these area, if the more focus can be done, and the trust factor, as I already said you, instead of inspect and penalize, if you trust and verify and trust the people, and you can bring down this litigative aspect and this ease of doing business issue, then I think nobody can stop India, whether Trump tariff or anybody tariff, nobody can stop India to be a developed country in the future.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Pratik ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to put some facts from the healthcare side.
Sure.
So majorly on the healthcare part, like if you see for FY22, the healthcare sector for India was a 5 trillion economy, where the government participation was 35% and private participation was 65%, right? Now, with the change in the projections for FY27, what we are saying is the economy for healthcare will grow by to 8.6 trillion, and the participation of private sector will go from 65 to 73, and the government will be at 27%. So this is a sector which even everyone wants to right now focus, and that is definitely there. So if you see from WHO standard also, so we are way below what is a WHO standard for any developed country. Like for us, in our case, on a per 10,000 population, we have 9 doctors and 16 beds right now, as compared to any other developed country. So what we are also trying to say here is that from the healthcare side, yes, the things are there. The company wants to have the country also wants to have a development on the stage, and that is why what Ranjit is also saying, that everyone wants to pay tax, and they are also looking for a proper utilization of the tax collections which is happening. And that is why with this all these compliances which as a company we are doing, but we are also ensuring that there is a proper you can say there's a proper feedback which has been given either to the government or to the authorities. Like we have been in various panels at various agencies, we had worked with them about the healthcare part, right? And we have also trying to explain them that yes, there is an economy which is already going in parallelly. We all are working to make India shine right now, but then there are certain expectations which is always there, and what we look for is that yes, you should look differently from different angles. Every company which is more compliant should be definitely given a priority or a rating mechanism which should be there, which should
Yes.
help India or the government also to focus into the specific areas which can help them grow within the system. So this is what we as
Absolutely.
a health council want to try.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dave, can you please quickly go ahead? We are just
Yep.
slightly less time, but yeah, take please
Sure.
1 minute and
So
yeah, take it. Yeah.
Amol, I think most of the points you have covered. So, if you'll
Yeah.
ask me, no, the government should look for or encourage the industry to compete among themselves to a better compliant taxpayer. Okay, we need
Mm.
to encourage people so that that helps for a better rating for them, and that, in fact, no, that will help them to be a preferred vendor or service provider in the industry. So with that, we need to really help more compliant people with lesser compliance. No, if possible, we should work on a single education, so that okay, we don't struggle with multiple assessments at the same time by center or the state, or multiple states for the same topic at the same time. So all these things will really help us to simplify the governance mechanism, the compliance mechanism, the GST. It's really a progressive tax reform, and we have made our journey. We have learned our lessons. I think we need to pivot from here onward. And last but not the least, rather than 4 tier, if you can bring it down to 3 tier, and very consciously we see that how it is helping to address the problem statements of the people of the country.
Certainly. Ankush, can you please go ahead?
Yes,
Ankush?
please. No, I think, yeah, thanks. Most of the points have been covered. Now, I'll only say that while a lot of things have been done in last 1 decade, we have come a very, very long way, both in terms of processes, digitization, efforts of the government, development, infrastructure, etc. We should be on bullseye in terms of our motto should be very clear: make in India and ease of doing business in India. So that should be the core motto of the government, by reducing the compliance burden, by encouraging the overall sector, whether it is MSME, services, FMCG, construction, encourage them to do more and more, and leverage digitization, because we have come a long way on digitization effort. This can be really, really a game changer for us in the next decade. And I think last but not the least, helping or doing something to fast track the judicial remedial measures, because it takes years and years for settlement of cases, which takes a lot of time. So some of these, I think most of it has been covered, but some of these points, yeah.
Yeah. No. Lastly, people, you had already said, but just take a few more seconds, and if you want to add anything else,
Yeah,
if you
I'll make it very very brief. No, I
sure.
think the government has done a wonderful job. GST is a brilliant legislation, no doubt about it. Of course, there's a lot of room to evolve further, and I think the theme, I'll just shortly say, the theme should be one nation, one tax, one administration. So it should be centralized administration, and of course with the eye on ease of doing business. So if this is the theme, if they can manage, I think everything should be good. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Those was remarkable thoughts. I think all of you shared, and Deepal, I think you gave one more thought and a headline to the whole government, also adding by one administration. Thank you, Deepal. Thank you, Ankushji. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ranjit sir, and thank you, Pratik, for sharing those remarkable thoughts. Let's hope whatever we discussed, we would like to see the same translation of it in GST 2.0 document, which will be, coming soon. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts on ETCFO platform.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you,
Thank
Amol.
you for having
Very
us. Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.